The first time Eudora saw Mike, he was arguing with a policeman over 20 naira, and winning. She didn't know then that the man with ink-stained fingers and fire in his voice would one day break her heart, and rebuild it. Dressed in a plain blouse and cheap slippers, Eudora crossed the busy Lagos junction, invisible in the crowd, exactly how she wanted it. No bodyguards, no flashing cameras, no one whispering Okafor's daughter behind her back. Just the noise of the street, the scent of roasted corn, and a freedom her billions could never buy. Daily Times, Vanguard, The Nation. A voice barked beside her. He turned. That was him, tall, stubborn-looking, with tired eyes and confidence that didn't match his tattered shirt. "You're blocking traffic, madam," he said, not bothering to smile. "Or are you lost?" She blinked, caught off guard. "I was just looking for a way out," he asked, folding a newspaper with one hand. She didn't answer. But somehow he already knew. Eudora didn't know what pulled her back the next day. Curiosity, boredom, or the way Mike looked at her like she was just another girl, not a princess in hiding. She bought a paper she didn't need and stood beside him, pretending to read. "You again," he said without looking up. "You don't strike me as someone who reads headlines." She raised a brow. "And what do I strike you as?" "Someone running from something." That caught her off guard. "You don't know me. I don't have to. People don't hide unless they've got something to lose." He was sharp. Too sharp. She smiled to cover her discomfort. "You're surprisingly deep for a guy who sells papers." Mike smirked. "And you're surprisingly overdressed for a girl who claims to be broke." Before she could respond, he pointed to the small roadside cafe across the street. "You hungry?" She hesitated, but something about the way he asked felt different. No pressure, no flirting. Just a raw, honest offer. They crossed the road together. Over akara and bread. He told her he lived with his younger brother in a one-room facemifis. Their parents were gone. Life was hard. But he had dreams, his own printing press someday. A real business. Real headlines. And Eudora listened, heart thudding, because for the first time in years, someone was showing her their scars before asking about hers. They left the Accra place with oil on their fingers and warmth in their laughter. Eudora had never laughed like that with anyone. Not the carefully groomed men at charity balls. Not the business airs her father paraded her in front of. But Mike, with his sharp wit and quiet eyes, had a way of seeing through her without even trying. "Next time, don't let the woman scam you," he said as they walked down the street. "She added extra onions and doubled the price because you look soft." Eudora scoffed. "Excuse you. I'm street now." He snorted. "You're street adjacent." They ended up at the cafe where she worked. She pointed at the small, peeling signboard. "This is me." He looked at the building, then at her. "So, you really do work here?" "What, you thought I was lying?" "I thought maybe you were doing research for a novel or something." She laughed. "Nope. Just trying to stay sane." From that day on, Mike started passing by more. Sometimes just to wave. Other times to order something he didn't really want. A bottle of water, a meat pie he barely touched. And once, when she was having a rough shift, he simply sat at the corner, not saying a word, just being there. He made her laugh on the worst days. Mocked her faded apron. Offered to teach her how to hold a tray without spilling. And when she got scolded by her boss one afternoon, he waited outside till her shift ended, a cold malt in one hand and a crooked grin on his face. "You look like you could slap someone," he said. "2 people," she muttered. "Maybe 3. Then drink this first. Assault with malt in your system is more forgivable." She took it laughing. It wasn't dramatic or sudden. But in the quiet ways he showed up, uninvited but always welcome, something shifted. And one evening, as he walked her to the bus stop and asked what she'd do if money didn't matter, she looked at him and said, "Maybe exactly this. Walking. Being with someone who doesn't ask me to be anything else." Mike didn't say much in return. But the way he looked at her that night said everything. Vanessa nearly choked on her cocktail when Eudora mentioned Mike. A newspaper seller, she repeated, blinking. You. Babe, be serious. Eudora rolled her eyes. He's kind, smart, ambitious, and broke, Vanessa added. Sweetheart, I'm all for romance, but this is not Nollywood. You're heir to a billion-naira legacy. You really think he'd look at you the same if he knew who you were? I don't care about all that. I want someone who loves me, not the money. Vanessa leaned back, swirling her drink. Then test him. Flash a little wealth. Offer him a chance. If he bites, then you know. Eudora frowned. That's manipulative. It's realistic. The words stayed with her, haunting her like a bad melody. She didn't want to doubt Mike. But what if Vanessa was right? What if the love she thought she had was just another illusion? Later that night, Eudora stared at her reflection, still dressed in borrowed clothes and covered in street dust, and whispered, "Would he still want me if he knew?" The real test hadn't begun yet. But the cracks were forming. The plan was simple, harmless even. Or so Eudora told herself. She borrowed Vanessa's sleek black Benz and swapped her café apron for a body-hugging dress and heels. With makeup lightly done and her long hair finally let down, she didn't look like Ada the waitress. She looked like Eudora Okafor, heiress, elite, untouchable. She drove past Mike's usual junction, slowing just enough for him to spot her. Their eyes met. He blinked, then blinked again. She stepped out, keys dangling in her fingers. "Thought I'd give you a ride today." Mike looked her up and down. "This you?" he asked slowly. Eudora forced a smile. "Sometimes." He climbed in reluctantly, quiet the whole ride. When she stopped at a quiet spot near the bridge, she finally turned to him. "I lied to you," she began. "I'm not just some broke girl from the cafe." He didn't speak. "I have money, luck, and I can help you. I can set you up, Mike. Get you a shop, a loan, even sponsor that printing dream of yours." He stared out the window, jaw clenched. "Why now?" "Because I care," she whispered. He turned to her slowly. "Or because you don't think I'll make it on my own?" Silence. Then, without warning, he opened the door. "I thought you saw me," he said quietly. "But maybe you just saw a project." And then he walked away. Eudora sat there, trembling. The trap had been set, and she had just lost the man she didn't realize she already loved. Days passed. Then a week. Mike didn't call. Didn't show up at his usual spot. Eudora found herself scanning every junction, every corner, hoping to see him flipping through papers or yelling headlines like before. But he was gone, and so was the lightness she didn't know he had brought into her life. Vanessa tried to shrug it off. "You did the right thing. At least now you know." Eudora snapped. "No, I don't know anything. All I know is that I miss him. And I ruined it." The cafe felt colder. Every cup she served reminded her of the first akara they'd shared. Every morning without his teasing felt empty. She wanted to tell him the truth, not just about her money, but about why she tested him in the first place. But Mike didn't want to be found. One day, she mustered the courage to go to the Face You compound he once mentioned. A skinny boy answered the door. Mike's younger brother. "He's not around," the boy mumbled. "He's been quiet lately. Doesn't talk much. Can you tell him Ada came by?" she asked, leaving a note in his hand. No response. That night, she sat on her bed with her heart pounding and stared at her reflection. The Eudora Okafor the world knew could buy diamonds, control boardrooms, and silence a room. But the girl in the mirror. She couldn't even hold on to the one person who loved her before he knew her name. And that kind of loss, money couldn't fix. The headlines hit the front page like a bomb. "Billionaire heiress disguises as waitress to find love in Lagos. Exclusive photos inside." Eudora's world spun as she stared at the paper. The same paper Mike once sold, now weaponized against her. There she was, in full color, stepping out of the black Benz, smiling beside her father at a private gala. Her name bold and unforgiving beneath the headline. Vanessa's voice cracked over the phone. I swear I didn't leak it. Someone must have recognized you. It didn't matter now. By noon, the cafe was swarmed with whispers. Customers stared. Staff gave her wide-eyed looks. Even her manager pulled her aside, stuttering. You're her. Eudora left through the back door. Meanwhile, across town, Mike was at his stall when a man tossed the paper at him with a laugh. Your mystery babe's a billionaire. You day form humble with big madam. He froze. Then picked up the paper with trembling hands. The photos didn't lie. The truth slapped harder than betrayal. She hadn't just tested him, she'd played him. Pretended to be one of them while hiding behind privilege. That night he didn't eat. Didn't sleep. The girl who had laughed with him over bread and akara had a mansion. The one who asked if he believed in dreams could buy any future she wanted. He didn't know what hurt more, the lies or the fact that he still wanted her. Somewhere across the city, Eudora stared at her darkened ceiling, praying he'd call. But Mike had gone silent again. This time she feared for good. It had been 12 days since the headline. 12 days of silence, shame, and sickening regret. Eudora had turned off her phones, ignored the buzz from social media, and refused every invitation her father's PR team threw her way. She didn't care what the world thought. She only cared that Mike hadn't said a word. That morning, she woke up with a decision burning in her chest. Not as Eudora Okafor, the heiress, but as Ada, the girl who had fallen in love under streetlights and rain-drenched sidewalks. She would go to him. No cameras, no guards, no driver. Just her. She found him right where he used to be. Under the same umbrella, flipping through headlines like they didn't cut. He looked up. To her. Said nothing. I came to explain, she said softly. You don't owe me anything, he replied. Yes, I do, she insisted, stepping closer. I lied because I was scared. Every guy I've ever met either wanted my father's money or the connections I bring. You were different. You didn't want anything from me. And I panicked. Mike stared at her, unreadable. She swallowed. I didn't want to lose you, so I tested you. And I lost you anyway. Silence. I didn't come here to fix it with money, Mike. I didn't come to offer a loan or a business plan. Came to say, sorry. Love you. And if you still feel anything at all, I'm here. Not as an heiress. Not as Eudora. Just me. She turned to leave, tears already forming. But just as she stepped off the curb, she heard it. A whisper barely audible. I kept the rose. She froze. What? She said, turning slowly. Mike reached into his bag and pulled out a page. An old newspaper folded neatly. Inside, pressed flat, was a dried rose she had once tucked behind his ear jokingly. I wanted to forget you, he said, voice hoarse. But I couldn't. And just like that, all the walls they'd built began to fall. They didn't rush it. Mike didn't take her hand that day. He didn't kiss her. He simply nodded and offered her a seat beside him under the umbrella. No grand gestures. No romantic soundtrack. But it was enough. Days turned into weeks. They rebuilt, slow and shaky at first, like learning how to walk again. Eudora began helping him organize his stall. She didn't give him money, but she gave him time. Sorting papers, jotting layout ideas for his printing press, offering strategies that didn't come from boardrooms, but from the streets. Her world remained quiet. Her father still hadn't spoken to her since the scandal. The media eventually moved on, but Eudora didn't care. In this quiet life with Mike, she found peace. One evening, as they sat watching people cross the busy road, Mike turned to her and asked, Do you ever miss it? The private jets, the 5-star dinners. Eudora smiled. Sometimes. But then I remember how you make tea with just enough milk. And I forget everything else. He chuckled, looking at her like she was both the simplest and most complicated thing he'd ever known. You know they won't leave you alone forever, he said. Your people. Your name. I know, she whispered. But I'm not hiding anymore. Just then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Come home, Adaora. We need to talk. Dad. Mike saw the tension in her eyes. You okay? She nodded slowly. I think the real story is just beginning. Come home, Adaora. We need to talk. Dad. The message replayed in her head like a ticking clock as she sat quietly beside Mike, pretending to enjoy the breeze. He noticed her silence but didn't push. He never did. That's what made being with him so easy. No demands, no masks. But there were things even love couldn't silence. That night, Adaora packed a small bag and left Mike a note. I'll be back. I promise. The Okafor estate hadn't changed. Same glass towers. Same polished guards. Same silence that stretched like a warning. Her father waited in the study, surrounded by files and unfamiliar faces. Lawyers, advisors, and a man she hadn't seen in years. Toby Balogun, the golden boy her father always compared her to. Chief Okafor didn't smile. He didn't hug her. You embarrassed this family, he said coldly. But I don't have time for grudges. The board is turning. Our stock is bleeding. I need you to fix your image. And get back in line. I'm not a pawn, she replied. No, you're a daughter. Which means you don't have a choice. Then he nodded toward Toby. He'll help you transition back. Public events. Interviews. Few photos together. You two used to be close. Adaora's skin went cold. Outside the door, Toby smiled, all charm and teeth. Long time, Ada. She clenched her fists. This wasn't a reunion. It was a setup.